Hey guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today's video is going to be all about villain retellings. As a lot of you know, my retelling themed readathon is coming up August 7th through August 20th called Retoldathon, and I'm trying to put out a couple videos before it comes out to give you some ideas for books to read. I will link all the information about the readathon up in the cards as well as down below in the description. One of the challenges is to read a villain backstory, and technically any villain type retelling will work for this prompt. I have a few that I have read and loved that I wanted to share with you guys today to give you some more ideas, and we're just going to jump right into these retellings. This is my sad attempt at being the witch from Snow White, so you may see this again in the future. Sticking with last month's theme, I have two Ursula backstory retellings for you. So I have Our Vengeful Souls by Christy McManus. I read this for Mermaid Marathon this year. This is a backstory on how Ursula came to be. So we've got some mermaidy goodness in here. We have Ursula when she's younger, and she's basically kind of competing with Triton to rule over the kingdom, and he kind of betrays her, and she winds up having to go to land to figure some things out. So this is mostly set on land. There's a tiny romance in here, and there's some other interesting elements. I did feel like it was a little bit all over the place, but I still really had a good time with it, and I thought it was enjoyable. There's a cool twist at the end that I didn't see coming. Definitely not like an all-time favorite, but I feel like it's one worth checking out. Then we have Sea Witch by Sarah Henning. Again, another backstory on Ursula. This is set way before she becomes Ursula. It's set mostly on land. We've got some friendship, we've got some romance in here. Evie is an outcast in her town ever since her best friend Anna drowned. She's been hiding her abilities and mourning the loss of her best friend. And then one day a girl washes up on shore who Evie is convinced is her best friend. And the story kind of unfolds from there. Kind of witchy, kind of darker, but a really good read. This is part of a duology, and the second book is more of a Little Mermaid retelling. Awesome on audio as well. Then we have Wicked by Gregory Maguire. This is what the musical Wicked is based off of. It is very different than the musical. I'm actually shocked that the musical came out of this. This is much darker and slower, more intense and magical. This is actually part of a quartet. So of course we're following the Wicked Witch in her younger years and how she kind of came to be. So a solid backstory. Gregory Maguire has a strange writing style. It can be a little slow at times, but I did enjoy this one. I found it very unique, and this is also an adult retelling. Then we have Heartless by Marissa Meyer, which is one of my all-time favorite books ever and one of my all-time favorite retellings backstories. So in this one we're following the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. This is also one of the prettiest books that I own. Like, it is so pretty. So we're following Catherine, who's one of the most desired girls in Wonderland. She's also kind of being prepped to possibly marry the king and become the queen one day, but she is a very talented baker, and she really wants to open her own baking shop, but that kind of goal is unthinkable if she's going to be the queen. And then at a ball where she's supposed to be kind of courted by the king, she meets a handsome jest, and things kind of unfold from there. Keep in mind with all of these that the villain backstories have rough endings because you know where things are going. I loved this one so much. It's kind of heartbreaking and awesome. So good. Marissa Meyer is my favorite author, and this would be perfect for the readathon. This would also work for the set in a castle prompt. Then we have Cersei by Madeline Miller. So Cersei is one of the goddesses that held Odysseus captive on his journey, and this is like her story. This is an adult Greek mythology retelling, so it will work for that prompt as well. And this is basically following Cersei and her like very long life from being very young and just like her immortal world, and she lives on this island by herself and different things happen. It's very good. It's adult. There are some darker topics in here. There's some trigger warnings, so look out for those. I thought this was really good. Some people feel like it's boring, but I feel like the audio really helped with that, and I just thought it was really well done and very interesting. This is like a solid 4-star read for me and great for the readathon. Next we have two Captain Hook retellings. So I have Lost Boy by Christina Henry that I've been talking about a lot here on YouTube and Instagram. This is a twist on Peter Pan. This is a YA horror. Peter Pan is not the boy that you grew up expecting. This is before we got Captain Hook, so we get a good look about how that came to be and how Peter became involved with the Lost Boys and all those things. It's dark, it's brutal, it's a tiny bit gory, it's a tiny bit scary, but I loved it so much. Christina Henry is such a good writer, and this one is heartbreaking and intense and one of my favorites. We also have Alias Hook, which is a true background on Hook, so you're following him as a young man and how he came to be with Neverland and be a pirate and all of those things. This one's a little bit more of like a slower, thoughtful read. I believe believe this is considered adult. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was unique. It was very whimsical. There's like fairies and things in here, and it's one that I don't see recommended enough. Then I have a couple Snow White Queen retellings which go with my outfit. So we have Fairest from the Lunar Chronicle. Now, I don't suggest reading this one unless you have read the first 3 Lunar Chronicles books, because this is a novella that takes place in the same world, but it's a backstory on Queen Lavanna, who is basically the Snow White's evil queen. It's so good. It's so dark. It's so intense. I really, really enjoyed it. But like I said, I would really recommend reading the first books in the trilogy first. They're perfect for the readathon. They follow Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast / Red Riding Hood, and Rapunzel. And then the last book is Snow White. But you read this one before that. And this is one of my favorite novellas ever. Marissa Meyer's just amazing at writing retellings. This one kind of inspired my look today. So we have Dark Shimmer, Donna Jo Napoli. Now, I actually didn't know this was a background on the evil queen from Snow White retelling when I read it. I wish more people would read it without me letting you know it's a retelling, because it was so surprising, but I gotta let you know so you can read it for the readathon. So this is so good. It's not scary like the cover seems. So Dulce is a monster, a giant, and a freak. She is a princess. She walks like royalty until dark shimmers make her fall. She is a mama. She has found her true family. She is beautiful, but beauty can't hide the monster inside. She is a wicked one. So this is a very, very unique retelling and backstory. It's a little bit heartbreaking again. It's set in Venice. It's so interesting how everything ties together. It's, again, one of my favorite books ever. I love a good villain backstory. It's a little bit on the slower side, but so beautiful. Highly recommend. We also have the Villain series by Serena Valentino. I read the first 2 of these several years ago and I just never continued on. I kind of want to reread them because I remember not totally loving them, but it might have just been my mood. But this is a really good option for the readathon. These are published Disney Hyperion and they follow different villains, but this particular series does connect together. So I would recommend reading them in order. I believe this is the first one and they're very short. They should be good on audio, but I think I physically read them as well. I might start this back up for the readathon, but definitely read them in order because they do tie things together, and I did like that part. I like when things kind of tie together. So another great option for you. Okay, so hopefully this gave you some ideas for some good villain backstories. I have a bunch more on my TBR, so I'm excited to read a couple during the readathon. Let me know what you're choosing for your villain backstory down below in the comments section. Let me know if you've read any of these or if you plan on it. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at TheBrightSideGirl if you haven't already. Doing lots of retelling recommendations on there as well. Don't forget to check out that announcement video, and I will see you guys next time on The Bright Side. Bye!